Okay. All right, so as Whitney said, my name is Jerry. I did my bachelor's and master's here at Cal State Fullerton. I grew up over in the city of Whittier, Santa Fe Springs area. I graduated with my bachelor's back in, I think, 2012, and then I got my master's and graduated in 2014. And now I own and operate a training facility called Untitled Athletics. Has anyone heard of it? Yeah. So it's over in the city of Whittier. It's a little over 2,000 square foot. And I'll touch a little bit about the facility a little bit later in the presentation. Here's the thing with this type of presentation. So I've spoken to other classes. I've spoken to corporations and things like that. I want this type of environment that with students, it's more of a laid back presentation. I first was going to do a presentation more of a technical thing, but I think you guys as students probably wouldn't get the most out of that. So the whole kind of premise of the presentation is going to be about asking questions. When I was making this presentation, I tried to put myself in your shoes and just think about what I would want looking back, 8 years ago. This is undergrad or graduate class? Undergrad. So what I would look like 8 years ago, what I would want to get most out of the experiences that I've gone through the past 8 years. What you guys can walk out of here just walking out okay, I got something out of it. Not so much textbook, something textbook savvy or textbooks related, more of a practical and real world setting. So you guys got to ask questions. And if you do, I brought some giveaways, so you guys get rewarded for asking questions today. So anyone have any questions to start? No? Oh yeah.
Well, I've seen you guys on Instagram because I worked with someone named George that I think still
George Khalil?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I've just looked on Instagram and stuff and followed, but I would never actually know what the whole thing is that you guys do.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, kind of the facility, we start off mainly personal training, and then so it's myself and 3 other coaches and then 2 other interns, and 2 of my coaches have been previous interns, and I ended up hiring them, so they've all kind of been built in-house. But basically, we do a lot of personal training. We work with a lot of athletes, so we're heavily involved in the professional boxing realm. Myself, and I'll touch a little bit about later, but I work with a lot of boxers, and then we work with NFL athletes, high school, college, youth, any type of athlete, we'll work with them. So we're a traditional, more of the strength and conditioning rather than just the personal training, but a lot of our business is done with just people just trying to get in better shape. So it's not just athletes, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. So since you asked the first question, I'm going to give you want a choice of have one hat, have a tank, a female tank, or a gym bag.
What size is the female?
So the female tank, I'm trying to bring the universal size. It's a large, so it runs a little small. Or I have a t-shirt, I have a small t-shirt. T-shirt? This is yours. Thank you for asking the question. All right, so let's kind of move on here. Okay, so to get the most out of today, like I touched on earlier today, is asking questions. You guys have to ask questions. I can only put myself in your shoes, but I don't know what you're actually thinking. So today is pretty much everything's fair game. You can ask anything you want, minus a few things, just because I'm being recorded, so there's some things that I do have to keep private. But pretty much I'm an open book. So the most you're going to get out of today is just asking the questions you probably think about on a daily basis when it comes to your career or going forward, maybe in relevance to your schooling and things like that. So you got to ask questions, and then you got to ask more questions. Okay, that's the question for you today. And then again, ask more questions. Right. So just to kind of quote, I don't know, when I was kind of your guys' in this when I was getting my bachelor's. I was the guy that would always sit in the front. I was the one that was always asking questions. I wasn't embarrassed to ask a question. I just felt like if I had a question, I'm paying my tuition fees. I'm going to get my answer from someone that's getting paid from my tuition fee. So that's the type of person I would go to. I would go to Jared Coburn's office all the time. I get feedback and things like that. So again, when you guys are in school, don't be afraid to ask questions, because you'll look back in 10 years when you're out of school, and you're going to regret not asking the questions you wanted to, but you were just kind of maybe a little too afraid of, or just thought that you'd be embarrassed. But again, you'll be embarrassed for 5 minutes as opposed to the next 10 years. Okay, so why you should listen to me. So sometimes, again, I go to a lot of seminars, a lot of clinics. I've heard great seminars, great clinics, great talks. I've heard bad ones, but I can always get something out of it. So to me, the reason The clinics and the seminars I like to go to are the people that I aspire to be, people that have maybe gone the road that I plan to go. So kind of why you should listen to me. Most people think it's because of this. I luckily got to train my first NFL athlete last year. This is me. We trained this guy, Peter Petro. He was he still is a champion, but he was a 135 lightweight world champion last April. We flew out to London and spent there like 10 days and finishing our training camp. He fought for the world title, went all 12 rounds, ended up losing. But it was just an experience that we got to be in a beautiful hotel. Got treated like a superstar. It was just an incredible feeling I've never felt before. But it was just the atmosphere that was just insane. And then we're currently working with the Golden Boy top prospect. He fights next week, but he's an up-and-comer, so he should be fighting for the world title in the next year or so. But this is what most people think why you should listen to me. I'm here to tell you this is not the reason why you should listen to me. Again, there's a lot of stuff out there, and you probably know, like on social media, there's a lot of fake stuff. That there's people just going to gyms. There's a gym down the street from me that they literally just bring in people with millions of followers, take some photos, videos, and get them out of there, and it's just to increase awareness and things like that. So this is not the reason why you should listen to me. The reason you should listen to me is because I've literally been in your shoes, or literally been in your desk. And the reason is so you can learn from my mistakes. So to me, again, when I was making this presentation, a lot of it had to do with what would I want to hear. And the reason and I will touch about it a little bit later, but as far as like reading books and things like that, is to learn from people's mistakes. And I think that's the one thing, a lot of times we get stuck in the textbooks, and I'm not trying to dog what Wendy's teaching you guys, but it's a lot of times we get our hand in the textbooks and we forget the real world application. I know when I was in your shoes, I walked out here thinking I knew everything, and then the real world hit and I really didn't know much. Right? So it's just being humble and just when you do internships and you go to like perform better seminars and things like that, stuff you want to get out of those talks are the things that people did wrong, so you don't make them. Right? You're gonna make mistakes, but if you can get 100, if you know 100 ways not to start a business, you're ahead of the game from someone who's gonna make those mistakes. Yeah.
So it was probably your biggest mistake.
Biggest mistake? Maybe waiting too long to start the business, because I was waiting for the perfect timing. I was waiting for the perfect location, perfect everything, just the legal stuff. I was really intimidated. I had to get a lawyer, and it was just me like looking back, like I should have started maybe a year or two sooner. And the only reason I started this where we're at right now is because one of my clients at 24 Hour Fitness was like, hey, you should check this place out. And I looked at the picture and it looked really bad, but there was a new ownership taking over and he made it look really nice. So it was just one of those things that if it wasn't for him telling me, like I might still be looking. So it was one of those things where sometimes the ideal time is like right now. So if it's your time to get a new job, go. You know? Yeah, good question. You're like, where's my gift? Just kidding. Yeah.
It's okay.
Did you start interning?
Yeah, I did two 6-month internships here at Cal State Fullerton under 2 different strength and conditioning coaches. Good experiences all around. I mean, I took some was more hands-on than others. I did another one too before I wanted to do strength and conditioning. I thought I wanted to do physical therapy, and I did an internship and I absolutely hated it. And it was just the environment. It was too slow. It was really negative. Everyone in that environment didn't want to be there because they're injured. They want to get out of there. So if I didn't do that internship, I would have probably went to physical therapy school, graduated, and like a lot of people, they get their degree and then they move out of that career because they never had experience. So that's the one thing we'll touch about is go get internships, because you may think, like when my interns, when they come in, I'm like, look, you're going to come in with the preconceived notion of what a trainer or a strength coach does. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but you don't really know the business of it. And if you don't know that side and you hate like being a seller, like you're gonna hate personal training, hate strength and conditioning coach in the private sector. If you're in the college sector, it's different, but you gotta know the same thing is you're still selling yourself to if there's a new head coach that comes in to the baseball team, you're selling your program to them because they could easily say like, no, I don't want you to work with my team, right? So it's one of those things I would highly recommend going and get internships, and don't do like 3-month internships, do 6-month internships where you're really getting the most out of it, because you got to see everything. And whoever you're doing your internship under, like tell them, like, I don't want to just see the floor stuff. I want to see the behind the scenes stuff. Whoever owns that facility, like with my interns, like they're going to see the way I do my payroll. They're going to see how I pay my taxes. They're going to see all the legal stuff that I got to go through from renewing my insurance, my liability insurance, all that stuff. They're going to see that because if they want to own a gym, they got to know this stuff. And this is why like these talks are helpful because no one ever did it to me. Luckily, I had a mentor. He was in real estate where he gave me some direction, but I mean, that's probably maybe another regret is maybe not interning in a private facility rather than just at a university and getting that experience there. Yeah. Yep.
How often do you take new interns?
Probably like every 4 or 5 months. Usually, like all of our interns, we had 2 of them that got hired with me. 2 other ones got hired at a different location. I have one right now. He actually comes here, Michael Viramontes. You know, he's graduating. I think this is his last semester, but he's trying to get into your class.
So I was.
Yeah, but yeah. So he comes here. So he does an intern, and then I have a high school kid who just like I wouldn't have even thought about taking a high school kid. But this guy like just blows my mind with like he was just eager. He wanted to learn experience. So like 4 to 6 months. I usually require them to do at least 4 months, X amount of hours and things like that. Yeah. So I have business cards if you guys want to. If you guys are interested, you guys can come by. It doesn't have to be an internship. You can just come and shadow us. Sit down and ask some questions and things like that. So I'm always open to that. Yeah. Same thing? Yeah.
What was your biggest obstacle, like opening your business?
Like the legal stuff, because it's like there was no, at first there was nobody giving me direction. Like I was just going online and everybody was saying this way, and then I have a good friend who's a real estate guy and super intelligent, super smart. He's just, all right, this is the steps you're gonna take. And it was actually pretty simple. Like it's like if I described it to you, it would sound like it's pretty overwhelming. But I went through LegalZoom, and pretty much they do a lot of the work for you. And luckily, where our facility is at, we're in a it's called a unincorporated part of the city where it's managed through the county rather than the city. So that was like a huge. I literally called up the county. I was like, all right, this is what I want to do, and all they asked me was like, all right, are you working with? Like, do you have a shower? I'm like, no. Do you have like any? Are you working with like razor blades and things like that? Like if you're a barber shop and things like that? Nope. Like you're fine. You can set up shop. Like it was. But again, if it was through the city, I would have to go in. We're trying to move out right now, and I found another location, a big one, but I had parking issues. The city wanted me to have 12 parking spaces, and there was 0 parking spaces where that facility was located, so I couldn't move in there. So it's like one of those things where you got to even know that type of stuff, where your zoning is within the city. What do you fall under? Some places are going to be super strict, others not. Where I'm at, like it was a perfect location. There was, as long as I wasn't handling showers, swimming pools, or anything like that, I was good to go. So I think that was the biggest like hurdle, is just the legal stuff. But once you figure it out, it's a lot easier. Yeah.
Internship-wise, do you think most professionals in this field don't pay their interns, or would you say that you should?
I think they
be
don't.
looking
I think some yes, some, like it's slowly changing, but I don't know. Like to me, I'm still in the traditional where like, and I don't say it because it's like, oh, I went through 6 months interest, I didn't get paid, you guys should do it. Some, yeah, you should, but I think for me, it's like, what's the purpose of the internship? For me, it's like, there's people that I'm telling you, I get emails all the time, phone calls like, hey, can I pick your brain? And like to me, that's like an ultimate insult. It's like you're trying to basically pick the fruits of my labor. Like I put in 10 years of mistakes, money, and I'm still paying my tuition fees, and somebody just wants to walk in and just steal all this stuff from me. It's like, that's not fair. To me, it's just like a slap in the face. So it's like, that's where the internship comes in. My interns, I'm like, look, I'm an open book, but you're gonna like give me something out of it. And not only just the work, I don't have them just clean the gym and things like that. Like I literally want ideas. We have team meetings, and like, there's one intern who, there's a lot of people out there that if you're doing an intern, they might just have you hold a clipboard and take notes. Like that's, to me, that's wasting your time. I want to get input from my interns, and there's literally one of my program designs of one of my clients, one of my interns, like he's like, hey, he pointed out something, and he's like, hey, this might be a better idea, a better route to go. And if I had an ego, I would have been like, nah, you're an intern, like you don't know as much as I do. But he made a good point. I was just like, yeah, you're right, and I changed my program. So it's like I can always learn from. It doesn't matter your age, your experience, something out of your experience that you've dealt with, I can probably learn. If you're a former athlete, especially a college athlete, I never played college athlete as an athlete in college, so I can learn something from you. I know that you might be like, hey coach, I want you to bang out this workout, but during finals week, you might be like, hey, hey, like, you know, this athlete might be super stressed from school. He might not be able to handle that much volume or intensity or whatever it is. That's me learning something from an experience that I never had. So it's like, as a coach, you got to make sure your ego is not getting in the way of your growth, because that will kill you. If you think you're too big to learn from someone that doesn't have your experience or have a degree or a certain certification, to me, that's just like you have too big of an ego to let your progress and your growth go over your ego. Anything else? No. Okay. So this is the reason. It's just that I've made a lot of mistakes, but again, learning from them. So just a quick story, just so you guys have some context behind who I am. So I went to high school. My brother, I have an older brother. He went to USC. He majored in accounting. So like, to me, he was my big mentor. That's essentially what I wanted to do. So I went to Cerritos College just because I financially I wanted to work a little bit, but I wanted to save some money off of my general eds. And then I was going to do accounting, and then I remember doing my senior project in high school. I did on supplements, and it just started intriguing me, and it just got the ball rolling. And then I ended up going to Cal State, bachelor's, master's. I wanted to do my PhD, but it was and it's not because I wanted to teach, I wanted to learn more. So I still plan on going back to school, and I'm actually applying to teach at Cerritos College next fall, take some classes there. I love the classroom environment. And then this is our facility here. This is a little older picture, but we have some stuff in here. But like, my baby we have a Kaiser machine, and like, to me, like, I know it sounds stupid, but like, having that Kaiser machine, because it is expensive, but that was the one thing that, like, to me, I've always wanted to own. So we have one tucked in the back, but we're a little over 2,000 square foot. Good location. There's windows alongside this side, and there's cars that drive by, walk in. So we've been here for a little over 3.5 years now. But we're looking to expand pretty soon, so just finding the right location. Okay, so just to kind of give you all some context as far as the gym, this is something that all my interns, my coaches, everyone kind of learns what we're about. I think it's important for yourself as a coach, and again, I know the topic I said future coaches, but if you guys don't want to go into coaches, all this stuff is so relatable. If you want to do PT, you want to teach, it's all the same stuff. There's no magic recipe for a coach to an accountant, a business person. It doesn't really matter. But this is just something kind of that we hold our core values is exceed expectations. It's one of those things where, like, to me, I make an effort to go to all my athletes' games, their practices. I have a kid that he was first time playing football. I went to his flag football tryout just to show my face and just to literally show this kid that I care. And his dad literally came up to me. He's like, man, actually it was at a baseball game, another situation where I went to another athlete. So it was like 2 months in, I was training this kid. I went to go to his baseball game, and I literally just wanted to see him play. And his dad came up to me. He's like, man, he's had a baseball hitting coach for 4 years, and he's never come to his game. It was just over exceeding expectations. He probably thought, all right, as long as I'm paying him, he's going to hang out with my kid, and that's it. But to me, it's like I just came to some of my guys at Orange Coast College. I drove out there last week and I see my athlete's first college pitching. He pitched 1 inning, but I drove out there. I could have been doing stuff, but it's just me showing my face, he telling the parent, the athlete, that I actually care. So over exceeding expectations is extremely important. Holding each other accountable, whether it's my coaches, my athletes, and things like that. That's extremely important as well. Find someone that's going to hold you accountable, not just your teacher, but someone that could be a friend, someone that you guys are it could be a classmate. You guys are going on the same route. Hold each other accountable. Do no harm. That's pretty simple. Pursue growth and learning. One of the things I always challenge my interns has a lot to do with just learning, and it's not just the science, the physiologies, and I'll give you some book recommendations at the end, but learning just to be a better human being rather than actually learning the lactate and all this other stuff, which is important, but that's not what everyone has. Everyone in this classroom can tell me and can build me a program, but that's not what I'm hiring someone for. Can you communicate effectively? Can you look me in the eyes when you're talking to me? Can you over deliver on expectations and things like that? Be passionate, determined, ambitious, and then that last one, humble. Humility is extremely important in this field. Be honest, have integrity, embrace innovation. I think that's another thing is, like, if you guys follow my Instagram, I always talk about, like, there's some, if you go to seminars, there's some coaches that, like, especially in the boxing community. So one of the hurdles, so another obstacle, I forgot who asked me, but was when I started working with boxers. Boxing, if you follow that sport, is still years back. They're not embracing innovation in science. They're still stuck in their old ways. And it's not a bad or a good thing. It's just what it is. So when I came in and try to do some periodization, do some testing, some coaches are like, whoa, like you're gonna get my athlete too much muscle, and he's gonna become slow. So it was one of those things where, as a coach, and luckily I work with a boxing coach or coaches that like embrace this. But there are some coaches out there, maybe someone you're gonna intern that doesn't embrace this stuff. You guys probably learn like velocity-based training. You might be interning in a place that doesn't believe in that stuff, and that's okay. It's not a bad or a good thing, but for me, it's like you're either going to embrace it or you're going to die, because you're going to get passed over by someone who's using technology and data and things like that. I know Dr. Galpin, if you guys haven't read his book, The Unplugged one is a great book, and it talks about some of this is too much, right? Some of the stuff, you're getting all this data and you're not even using it, or you don't know how to use it, it can become overwhelming. So it's finding that balance where you're embracing it and you're learning about it, but again, you still got to have your coach's eye and be able to coach humans. New opportunities, so things like that, like an internship. You have a good opportunity, maybe you're working at a full-time job, that could be your chance to break into the field. You might want to go part-time and then take that opportunity as an intern. Be adaptable, problem solver, that's a big one, because when I graduated, I remember I thought I could build the perfect program until somebody walks into your gym and they're having a lousy day, they're going through a divorce, their kid is sick, things like that. You've got to make some adjustments, right? You can't just have somebody coming in 3 rep max when they're just feeling like crap. So you've got to be able to adjust and know that sometimes the textbook, it's in the perfect world, right? It's like, all right, you have the subject that comes in. Like when I did my master's thesis, this is the protocol, but it doesn't always work out like that. What if somebody didn't get some good sleep? Can you adapt their program to fit and maybe make up that work on a later date? Be empathetic. I think that's a big one. Is kind of in the coaching field and in the trainer field, a lot of our clients and our athletes think that we're like machines, that we don't have problems as coaches. So it's just, or vice versa. Sometimes they think that they don't think that we can empathize with what they're going through. So sometimes if, let's just say if you're dealing with an overweight client and you've never been overweight, it's like, all right, maybe you don't know exactly what they're feeling, but can you empathize with them and see what they might be going through, right? Okay, so this is something that I showed in one of my team meetings. So just kind of decide what type of person are you, right? So we've got 2 pictures here. They're both on top of the mountain, right? So one person gets there by helicopter, taking a selfie, taking a picture, and then the other one, same thing, top of the mountain, but he worked his way up there, right? So it's like sometimes I think in these days and age, we get that instant gratification when we just want to get something so quick. And again, including myself, that I always try to look at these 2 pictures and I'm like, look, you're at the same spot. But one person actually, worked his way up there, sacrificed, went through persevered through some situations that he probably thought he was going to quit. So to me, I always look at like, I want to be that guy climbing the mountain, even though they're both taking a picture at the top. Like, to me, it's just not worth it when you get to the top. You got to put in your time. You got to put in your work. You got to put in the effort. You got to have grit. It's one of those things that I can't really explain until you guys kind of grow into the field, and you'll look back and you're like, man, it was. You'll think that you did an internship. You'll think that you instead of going out on a Friday night, you actually study for a test and things like that. You'll look back and you'll know that these habits that you're getting right now are going to affect you down the road. Right? Okay, so before I move on, I want to kind of give something else away. So I'm going to give you guys a question. Let's go. What was my favorite class at Cal State Fullerton? Who can guess that? Take a guess. Anyone?
Principles.
Go for it. I got it, Jack.
Principles of strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
Exercise physiology.
Yeah. Okay, so which one? I got a hat, I got stickers, I got a large tank top, and I got a bag.
I was in a bag.
Bag? Alright, let's go. I'm gonna toss it to you. Okay, so let's move on. Still got plenty left, so. Okay, so this is a good quote. Do you guys know who Grant Cardone is? He's like a real estate guy, really sharp, real like kind of salesy, but I don't know, he just, whenever I listen to him on podcasts, on his YouTube channel, he has a book that's called Be Obsessed or Be Average. I have the quote out at our gym, but it's just, so this is what I did. I did this with my coaches. So I made a list of kind of traits of a coach. and I gave a survey to all of our clients, personal training, athletes, parents of our athletes. I just gave them like, hey, can you rate these traits in the order of what you would look for in a coach, right? So this is the list that I gave them. Okay, so results, education, experience, energy, motivated, intelligence, knowledge. I don't know, I know they sound the same, but to me they're a little bit different. Knowledge is just kind of like knowing something. Intelligence is being able to apply it to me, and then just being encouraging. So who could guess what was the number one answer? In a hand. Yep. Results, you're correct. What do you, large T, stickers, hat, or bag?
All of the stickers.
Sticker? There you go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, what about number 2? Experience. Experience, I don't believe it was, no.
Motivate.
Motivating, hold that, because I'm not sure if it was motivating there, I forget, oh yeah.
Knowledge.
Knowledge, okay, motivated knowledge,
Encouraging.
encouraging,
Intelligence.
intelligence,
Education.
education.
Energy.
Okay, so let's hold off on that. So just remember your answers, okay? So these are the answers. Okay, number 2 was energy. Who said energy? All right, which one do you want?
I'll get a sticker.
Zigger. Can you pass that on down?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is how they rated what they would look for in a coach. Again, to me, when I was younger, I would have probably guessed knowledge, experience, education. But again, it's not that the bottom stuff is not important. And I have my master's poster, my thesis poster that I presented in my gym, and like it looks cool, and people walk in, they read it. But that's not what they're looking for in an overall coach. It's going to catch their attention. I'm not saying that having a CSUF is not going to stand out, but results, you gotta get the results. I know when I worked at 24, there was a trainer who, she was awesome. She had a great personality. She didn't really know much of the science. She didn't have a degree, but she had energy. She was super encouraging. She would hang out with her clients outside of the gym, and her schedule was booked. I mean, booked. And then I had other trainers who had all the knowledge, had all the textbook stuff, educated, who couldn't speak to people, and they were pretty empty. So it's one of those things where it's making sure you know where you're putting your time in and your effort. Everyone's going to get a degree at some point, and everyone's going to know the knowledge, but what other factors are going to, again, exceed expectations and things like that. So you got to get them results with having good energy, and that doesn't mean that you got to go up and you guys know who Martin Rooney is? Martin Rooney, training for Warriors, no? No, you know who he is? So he's a pretty big time presenter, but he's got energy like crazy. But that's not what it has to be. It doesn't have to be, because what happens is if you just try to follow what someone else is doing, they're just super high energy. You're gonna have a client, and I have clients who, if I scream and yell at them and curse at them like, "You got this," she's gonna shut down. She's gonna go very, very into her shell and basically think, "Why is Jerry yelling at me?" Right? Well, I have other athletes who need that. Some athletes want to be challenged. Like, hey, you can't squat that. There's no way. And they look at you and they're like, all right. They get under the bar and they're squatting. But you tell that to another client who doesn't have that same personality, they're going to think that you're literally telling them they can't squat this, and you don't believe in it and things like that. So it's knowing energy. I'll have some clients at 5 o'clock where I got to be up. 6 o'clock comes, I got to bring it back down and bring my tone down. I got to be on, I got to get down, and how's your weekend and things like that. So again, going back to the other one is being adaptable. Is you got to know what's your athlete. That's one of the first questions when I work with an athlete or a personal training class. All right, what's your type of learning skill, right? What type of learner are you? Are you a visual learner? Are you a kinesthetic learner? Do you need me to actually, if I'm telling you push your hips back, do you need me to grab your hips and push them back? Do you need me to do it? And then what type of personality are you? Are you, and you can usually tell based off of conversations what gets them going and things like that, what kind of music they like. If they don't like rock, then they're probably not gonna like the high pitch, high energy type of voice, right? But just something to think about. I think some of my coaches, I made them rate these, and some of them, again, put the same thing that I would have put up as education experience, when at the end of the day, it's not that it's not important, it's just something to think about, that when you're working with people, it's not just about the degree and what's after your name. Oh, we have time?
10:31.
What time is it? We're out.
11:15.
Okay, so again, going back to the be obsessed or be average. So what do you guys see in this picture? Like, what do you guys see? And again, it's not a trick question.
Gears.
Gears, right? A little cog, things like that, right? So usually, like, I don't know, when I meet people, and I still go and like shadow people that are not in this industry. I'll go to business, real estate, all that stuff. I'll go to their type of seminars too. I just recently went to like a real estate one, and it was just awesome because it was all about leadership and confidence and things like that. But a lot of times in the work environment, and again, a lot of my friends, hopefully they're not going to watch this video, but like they just kind of go through the day and just kind of go with the flow. They go through the motion, and sometimes I know as a student, I've done it where you just show up to class, you get the lecture, you go home, you go to work, whatever, you just go through the motion. And again, that's going against what that being obsessed means. Is just, yeah.
Sorry. What was the name?
And ask questions anytime you want, yeah.
What was the name of the author? Of the
Grant Cardone, so Grant, and then Cardone, Cardone. He has a few books. Again, he sometimes like his personality sometimes doesn't mesh with a lot of people because he's like one of those hustlers, right? You guys know who Gary Vaynerchuk is? Gary V? Yeah. So he's kind of like that, but just like on a different level. So you gotta watch his. Something you might get turned off right away with his kind of the way his demeanor and things like that. But watch a little bit more of his stuff. He's legit. He's just his personality. You gotta kind of get used to it. But yeah, watch his podcast. But basically, what I was kind of getting to is like most people just kind of go through the motion, and it comes down to like if let's just say if one of these wheels breaks, right, the chip, the tooth, can you replace it? Yes, no. Yeah. So everybody drives a car, right? So if something happens to your engine, let's just say like a pulley or a belt breaks, can you replace that belt? Pretty easy, right? It's easily replaceable.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole point is kind of what I'm saying is like
Yeah.
you get your degree, like you're replaceable. Right? I posted something on my Instagram story. It's just like I get 10 resumes, 10 emails every month about jobs, and everyone has a bachelor's, right? A lot of people have masters. So if you think this is gonna get you the job of your dreams, like it's not gonna happen. Like you are replaceable. Like my coaches, they all have degrees, they have certifications, things like that. Awesome coaches, but at the end of the day, like they have put themselves where they're not replaceable. They've worked really hard. They want to learn more, so they're getting to a point where like I can't just change a wheel. I can't just take one of my coaches out and replace them with another coach because they're that good, right? So that's where I'm trying to get at is don't think that just because you have that diploma is automatically you're gonna walk out of there and have the dream job. It's just not gonna happen. So how do you make yourself irreplaceable is kind of where I'm getting at, right? So you don't want to be that person that that you get replaced all the time, right? So you just don't want to be that person where you're bouncing from intern to internship, job to job, because that should be telling you something that something's happening that you're like. To me, like I look at my coaches as like if they got another job offer and they came to me like, hey, they're willing to pay me more. They're that good where I'm like, all right, I'll match that. Like, I want to keep you here, right? It's to the point where they're that good, and that's where you guys want to be. You want to be able to have, instead of asking for a raise, I promise you, if you're that good, they'll give you that raise before you even think about asking because you're that good. So it's like, have that perspective and have that mindset of that diploma is just one piece of the puzzle. It's all the other stuff. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so you guys heard of the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko, I forgot his last name. Anybody heard of it? He comes from he's a former Navy SEAL, military background. He's pretty intense, but he has another book. It's called Extreme Ownership. He has a